Hello, everyone. My name is Jason DaPonte. I'm a producer from a company called The Swarm in London, and I'm happy to welcome you to the Creating Killer Social Experiences panel at MIPCube this afternoon. I hope everyone is staying dry, because I understand that it's much drier in here than outside. And we've got an exciting lineup for you of 3 different companies who are going to talk to you about what they're doing in the social space and engaging audiences. We've got Jay Bennett from Shaftesbury Smokebomb Entertainment, Richard Welch from Bigballs Films, and Peter Westlund from Be Real in Sweden. And they're going to take you through some case studies and examples of work that they've done. We'll have some questions from me, and there will also be time for questions from the audience. So if you've got a question that's burning, hold on, and we will have time for that towards the end. So first up, we've got Jay. Do you want to tell us about what you're up to?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. Is this thing going to work? Cool. I'm playing Beat the Clock, so this is going to go fast. Obviously, feel free to visit our website or visit me after the show, and I can explain more. Smokebomb Entertainment, we're the digital arm of Shaftesbury Films. Our mandate is twofold. One, we take Shaftesbury's television series and create second-screen transmedia experiences for those, as well as we create original digital content for all screens, all platforms. We sort of move in 2 genres, tween, skewing male-female, and what we call young adults, so sort of 16 to 30 male-female. Projects like Totally Amped, the world's first app television series, Backpackers, a buddy road trip comedy we're shooting on location across Europe this summer for CW and CTV, and State of Sin, a 3D living motion comic with second screen game. But I'm here today to talk about an experiment we've just completed for one of our new projects we have in development called The Path. The Path is what we describe as an urban fantasy, written and created by Kay Rendell and Aaron Marr, 2 American writers who have worked on things like Millennium and Legends of the Seeker. Just going through this really quickly, everything we sort of do with The Path, we think for all screens. So it's 24 by 6, 6 by 22, or it can be cut together as a feature film. And this allows our properties to travel across all platforms. But what I want to talk about today in terms of social experiences is something we did and experimented with, what we call the hosted social experience. This is our response to 2 things. One, the fact that fandom exists, especially around genre properties, but it seems like for the most part these days, that really isn't being embraced by traditional broadcasters or producers. You have millions of people, take Once Upon a Time, for instance, 10+ million people tuning in for that television series. After that program is over, 1 million of those are going out, and they're going out into other rooms, other chat areas that they are creating themselves and running themselves to talk about the show and to play in the story world. And we see that as an opportunity, both for this project and projects in general, is really what you should be doing is embracing those people, bringing them in under your umbrella, and allowing them to participate with your content and play with it. You're retaining those eyeballs between broadcasts, and it's also providing further brand integration opportunities. Second of all, when it comes to the digital space, we certainly don't believe that you can just make projects anymore and release them. Really, it requires audience development before actually even a lick of script is written. So the hosted social experience that we've created was an experiment. We ran a 6-week beta test with our partners at the Canadian Film Centre to test out a few of these theories. And I'm going to blast through some sides. The centerpiece of this is what we call the creative room. Once a week, using a platform we built, integrating Google Hangouts, Twitter, and Facebook, we would have a live chat with our writers, our creators, and our fans. And during that, we would pull apart different parts of the Bible, different characters, different plots, and allow our fans to ask questions, make suggestions, and for us to ask questions back to them and actually develop the creative in real time. Never giving them control to go and write who the main character is, but it is an interesting way to beta test ideas. We use Twitter, we use Facebook. This is a good example of sort of how we do that. We'd go and we'd pull out a piece from the Bible, the gray man, who is a villain. Now that can go any way, but we sort of went to our audience and would bench test ideas. Do they think that is a gray man is black smoke? Do they think that is a physical form? In the end, actually, with our audience, we agreed that it should start as smoke and end then turn into a physical form when speaking. And we would also do polls, and again, just testing assumptions. What what we're doing in that, though, is not only is the audience participating, but we are building key influencers. And so when that product goes to market, you now have a fan base there ready to participate. Interesting to us, the Daily Dot actually named us one of the top 10 web series to watch in 2013 without actually having shot a lick of footage. And as my time ticks down here, some of the content that was created by it, people started participating, creating fan art around our characters, boards, people submitting songs that made them think of the show, even just video clips. Someone actually created a language for our series. That says the path in the fairy language that they have created. And so that is the development process. The next step for us is to move this through production. So we would continue to expand that as we go through the writing and the actual production process. Each week bringing other people into that, be it production designers, editors, directors, actors, continually allowing our audience to grow with us and talk with us and help us develop this property. And I'm out of time.
Okay, great, thanks. You talked a lot about testing. I think you kept talking about testing. When you do these tests, how do you evaluate them? How do you know if they're successful? What are the things that you look for?
Well, certainly traction. And part of our testing for ourselves has been learning really what is that threshold of... I always say, and everything we try and do at Smokebomb is very low barrier. We really believe in mainstream. And so trying to see what that threshold point is for people willing to engage. A very interesting basic example, people really seem to be able to get two choices. Give them more than two choices, and they start to become... usually that's too much, and they don't want to engage as much. So even doing that, putting 2 photos as opposed to 6 next to each other, we'd find that traction was much greater there. And then second, I think it still is that gut instinct, and it's still telling great creative. And so... you sort of just, at the end, we're not a machine, and this isn't some sort of magic Star Trek device to make a show. It's still being led and designed and curated by creatives who do this, but I think we are allowing that audience to sort of poke in and sometimes challenge us on directions we think is correct, but the people who are going to watch it come back and say, no, actually, I think we might like it like this.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Next up, we've got Richard Welsh from Bigballs Films.
Hello, I'm Richard. So Bigballs is the hang on, if I just go back a slide. So Bigballs, what we say at Bigballs is we make films for a social world. We've been around since 2005, which was the same year that YouTube was founded. We produced a series called Cape Modern, which was the first series, first drama series for a social network on Bebo, and it was one of those amazing experiences where you're starting filming and the audience are actually sort of taking on the journey as you go. The comments were coming from the audience from the very start, and so community management at that point, 2007, didn't really exist. So we were sort of producing the content, shooting the content, coming back, uploading it to Bebo, and then dealing with the comments and taking the audience interaction. There's sort of 4 aspects we now work with, which is content strategy, which is, as we were saying before, that you need to do content strategy and audience development before you even start any of these projects. Film production, so we still make films, but it's working with digital platforms where you know the audience are going to be feeding back all the time and being agile around that. And then digital production, so the ability to work with apps and creating digital experiences that essentially map together and coordinate the series we make. The project I'm going to talk about is something that's been, I guess, in the last 5 or 6 years, we've done one project every single year, which has moved on what we call social entertainment. We had a project called Iron Player, which is up and running at the moment, which is the world's most popular film-led social game. So you get to play the life of a footballer, and there's 9 million people playing that. And then when Google started the YouTube Originals program, which was started in America last year, we were the first European channel to be commissioned. It was, well, for the world's largest sport, which is absolutely amazing, but being asked to create the world's biggest sort of football channel is quite a sort of terrifying task as well. And so for us, this is the film that launched it.
Is in Moscow. I'm in Amsterdam. In Glasgow.
Romania.
Istanbul. Milan. Madrid. Paris. Zurich! invited my mate along. Get in here! Hey, drop my coming soon! Welcome to
What's going on? I'm Devlin, you're watching Copper 90, and this is Why I Love Spurs.
$100K subscribers! I can't believe it! Now. You don't get that match of the day, do you?
Hi, I'm Raheem Sterling. Make sure you subscribe to Copper 90.
Gerard's intimidating.
If you don't know him too well, yeah?
So I guess the key point there was that we had got used to building campaigns, but working with brands, and what the YouTube opportunity gave us was the chance to build audiences for ourselves and iterate as we go. Specifically, one of the main points is how you use the audience and how you use their feedback to really make them a part of the journey. So our core format that we launched with, or right in the sort of center of the channel that essentially links all the other different shows on the platform, is a show called Comments Below, and it sort of does exactly what it says on the tin. So the first episode we created, the two guys, Poet and Vajanic, they made an inflammatory comment that was going to get a reaction about football. I think it was like David Beckham's not a great player, or he looks stupid in underwear, or something like that. And the comments below that show essentially fed the next show. And so we've got this brilliant kind of consequences-style journey that iterates. And we're never coming up with the ideas for the show. The audience are always coming up with the ideas. And so it's an incredible experience being able to see what the audience are thinking in real time. We're getting now, I think it's 2,700 comments is our record from about 40,000 views, which is astonishing in terms of the interaction we're getting. That's the sort of first main point in terms of giving the audience a part of the journey and letting them help shape the channel. The second show is Eurofan, which you saw a clip of in there, and it's a Radio 1 DJ called Tom Deakin who basically travels around Europe. But one of the main reasons that show has been a success is because of the collaborations we've done with existing YouTubers who have built audiences in massive droves, but ultimately haven't been able to maybe bring the production values that we can. And so that's the most exciting thing for us is working with a platform where the audience are already there, but we can sort of help them take them to the next level. Final slide. I've run out of time, so I'm going over, but. In sort of 5 or 6 months, we've managed to build up 230,000 subscribers, 600,000 Facebook likes, but it is the 2,500 comments every show, which, having done lots of campaigns with the likes of Adidas and Nike, the most exciting thing is genuinely seeing, without any media spend, an audience genuinely kind of getting involved in the story, and that's
Great, thanks.
Okay.
You talked a lot about those comments and about the live reaction and working with the audience live, but you also talked about the importance of strategy and planning up front. What advice would you give to people in terms of working with both an upfront strategy that you're setting and being able to be flexible in real time?
It's genuinely it's this agile development. People talk about it a lot, but we had a very set vision when we started of what we thought Copper 90 was going to be, and we looked at it now, like sort of 5 months in, and realised that actually we've got on one end, we've got a series called FIFA Player, which is a little bit Ali G with the guy going around kind of playing FIFA gamers on YouTube. And it is the most extraordinary audience because these 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, that's where they hang out, and so we're getting massive views. At the other end, we made a beautiful documentary with AC Milan, which, again, for me, for everyone at Bigballs of a certain age, it got featured in the Telegraph, it got picked up by the Guardian, it got like amazing kind of praise, but it bore no relation to the actual audience that we're entertaining. And so, in a way, we sort of managed to create, I guess, Cartoon Network on one end to almost like an HBO sort of foreign language film at the other end, and it's really getting your head out of I guess what works for TV and really getting under the skin of what an audience wants. And I guess the final point on that was just an amazing sort of comment from one of the guys. We're working with KSI, who's the huge YouTube gamer who's built a lot of our views, and he was talking about how the fact that for him and his friends, if it doesn't happen on YouTube, it doesn't happen. Like, it's culturally, it doesn't even resonate. So it was, as much as we try and imagine that we're in this sort of middle age, middle sort of period between maybe an older producer and a younger audience, that even for us, you have to question the whole time, is this something that we're doing because we think it's great, or is this something that actually we're 10 years detached? So,
okay,
yep.
Great, thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Peter from BeReal.
So hi, I'm Peter. And BeReal is a production company. We're doing everything from feature films to commercials to digital production. And I thought I would show some of the stuff we've been doing for Intel and Toshiba. We've been working together with an ad agency called Pereira Odell out of LA, exploring the concept of social films, or I should say Hollywood social films. And by this we mean basically taking Hollywood-style content and talent and production values, and using a narrative structure where we can, open it up to allow the audience to be part of the story, and the content the audience produces to be part of the story. We've created 2 projects sort of as part of this exploration. The first was a thriller called The Inside Experience, and the second one was more of a love story called The Beauty Inside, where we took the sort of the learnings from the thriller project, but applied it to a new genre, but using very much the same sort of engagement mechanics. So The Beauty Inside is a story. I'll show you a little bit more of The Beauty Inside. I don't have that much time, so I'll focus on that one. It's a story about a guy named Alex who has this weird thing. Every day when he wakes up, he is a new person. So inside, he's the same, but on the outside, he's somebody new every day. And our main platforms for this was Facebook and YouTube. We had weekly episodes for 6 weeks. And also, smaller pieces of content and updates that were happening daily. So here's a look at it.
I have this condition thing. Every time I wake up, I'm a different person. It's been happening since I can remember. I like to keep track of who I am, who I've been.
Wish I had a little bit more hair.
I've spent time being thin. I've spent time being fat. I've been pretty, been ugly.
Look at that.
With perfect hair. They say it's what's on the inside that counts. It's kind of hard to count when nobody can see your insides.
I'm Leah, by the way.
Disappear on me, right?
I would see her again, but she would never see me.
So with this story, with this setup, I mean, we have a pretty good framework for allowing people to be part of the story. Basically, people around the world could portray Alex and upload their videos or images to our Facebook page, and we would curate and integrate in the story as we went along. And I think by allowing people to co-create the story and be part of the story, I think the experience we create is it's different than if you create something more traditional for TV, say. I think you get this sort of sense of connection with the world of the story. You're sort of weaved into it, which is really interesting. And we got more than 50 million views on this, and really positive response from the audience. A lot of people feeling really sort of attached to the world. So I think for us as a company, it's been a really interesting sort of learning experience, and thinking about what's the best format for these type of projects, and giving us a lot of inspiration to continue this pursuit of social films, where I mean, for me personally, as a creative, I think a key learning was to really try to work with stories where the social element is sort of part of the DNA of the project. It's not like a bolt on or something you slap on top of a more sort of standard story, but it's actually part of the core. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, great, thanks. When you look for those stories, how do you? What is it that you look for to see that the social is in the core of the DNA? What types of characteristics does that sort of story have?
I mean, it can be so different from project to project, but I think there has to be, sort of on a very top level, there has to be some space for the audience. Like they have to be able to fit in to this world as well, and then it doesn't take away the need for a great story and a great production and the talent and everything like that. Depending, of course, on what the project is, doesn't have to be Hollywood style, but it can be a lot of different things. But it just because you're involving the audience, it still has to be good. You can't sort of let go of that element.
Great, thanks. Now you talked about Hollywood style there, and one of the questions I wanted to ask the whole panel is when you talk about working with audiences, when you talk about social experiences, user-generated content, those are dirty words to some creatives because they think of like really messy, useless stuff. How do you manage to keep the production values up? How do you manage to do the quality control to get the types of projects that we've seen here? Because these all look great and they've all engaged audiences, but I think that's something that some creators really struggle with.
I think it does depend sort of the position you're starting from. I guess at Bigballs we've tried a number of different revenue sort of models that ultimately have allowed us to create social experiences in different ways. On one hand, with Iron Player, with the film game, with the social game, we raised some money and we attached Nike afterwards. So we created a story that we knew would work, was authentic for football fans, but then we credit everything back to the audience from like any innovation within the game. Same applies on Copper 90 on the football channel, but we're also working with a generation of filmmakers who are producing stuff in different ways. We're working with guys who are used to kind of editing in fast turnaround ways, who are working in efficient ways to essentially deliver a high level of quality at a lower cost in a lot of spaces. So I think that doesn't preclude anything from being like a much higher level when we do commercial stuff on that level. But I think for us it's how can we make everything more streamlined and efficient, and also look for new ways to fund projects that, say, with Kickstarter and sites like that, are giving us different ways to sort of produce stuff.
There we go. In terms of being a dirty word, yes, I think it is still a bit scary to people, especially, I mean, even 5 years ago, we'd go into writers' rooms in the showrunner and we'd say we want to go and create some type of social experience or extend your series, and that freaked them out because we were going to touch their toys. I think what is happening now with new technologies that are emerging, not even emerging, that are now present and here, if you don't do this, this is now the new expectation, I believe, of audiences. This idea that it's simply you sit for 30 minutes or 60 minutes one day a week and that's your time in the story world is no longer. Audiences are becoming much more divided, but within that, the benefit is they're becoming much more engaged with those properties. People who watch a show, love that story world, love those characters, and what a great opportunity to carry them across platforms and keep them in that story world throughout the week. So I don't think you go and ever drop an audience right into the core and the heart of it, but there's many opportunities for ways to place them around what exists and also then start pulling off those threads and creating new worlds that they can go and play in all they want themselves and not mess with your core.
Great. Peter, any thoughts?
No, I mean, for me, it's like, I don't know, I'm coming a little bit more from sort of the digital end. So for me, it's not a dirty word, like, and maybe since we're working more directly with brands, etc., we're a little bit out of the loop, maybe. So for me,
it wasn't so much about the dirty word, but it's more about how do you keep your production quality high?
Yeah, I don't know. I think production quality can be, I don't know, can be a lot of different things. Like I just feel it has to establish that connection, and then it can be on many levels. Like I don't know.
I think for the people we work with, this is like a massively exciting arena, that it doesn't ever feel like a dirty word for the writers or the creatives we work with, because there's a massive amount of freedom to create projects that once would have been much more linear and would have been much more limited in kind of their scope. And I think creating something that's linear is great, and there are amazing dramas on TV, but looking at what's happening with HBO in America and the series that are massively expanding and kind of becoming genuine transmedia properties, I think it's only more exciting, and there's only more interesting ways to bring audiences in and also essentially fund them and create that kind of long-term engagement. So.
Okay, great, thanks. I just want to say, have we got any questions from the audience? Okay, we've got one down here. Just wait for the microphone to come over, please.
Hello? Hello? Am I heard? Yeah. Yes. Hi, my name is Jalal, and the question is for you, Jay. Out of curiosity, now, when you're interacting with the fans and you're reading from them their opinions, two questions. Question number one, how do you select those fans at a later stage to see who actually participates? And to what extent do you stop the fan from putting in their ideas, and then where you're like, okay, thank you very much, now we need to take control of this? How do you do that? And what's the more effective platform to read those reviews from? Is it Facebook, Twitter, or anything that we haven't really used so far?
In terms of how we select the fans, I mean, everyone's welcome. Come and party. I think you see pretty quickly who those... there are certainly a lot of lurkers in our experience, people who just want to watch, but those people who do want to step up, the guys creating the language, people creating characters. I sort of even challenged some people. I said, look, if you go and you write a short story about one of our characters, we'll name someone after you in the show. Where you stop that is... I think it's very interesting. The audience, and through these conversations, it's clear that they don't really understand how making a TV show works. So we've also been educating them, and I think you can see the way the thinking started to change over those weeks, and the types of comments and their understanding. Certainly for us, it is a hosted social experience, and by that we mean guided. So we are never going to go and open the vaults into major areas that would go and throw our whole story off track. We always sort of go and pick those things where, quite frankly, we're happy with the 2 choices we put out, or the 4 choices, and then we'll let them go. And, oh, yeah. So everyone is participating, but in a very guided way. And I think that was... Oh, and then the platform. We used all platforms for this. I think it's interesting. Facebook is sort of the most flexible for us. Certainly, I actually think the platform we built, where we pulled in Google Hangouts, Twitter, and Facebook into that was actually the most robust one, just because that allowed people on any platform of choice. And then what we're finding, though, is younger and younger, it seems as though Twitter is the thing that is now being used more than Facebook, but that's sort of anecdotal.
Great. Any other questions? We've got one way in the back.
My question is about the beauty inside, and I'm wondering what exactly was the role of the brands in the movie or the social experience?
Well, it was on a couple of different levels. I mean, I guess in terms of the story, I mean, the core of the story is about the beauty inside, and sort of it's a little bit of a play with sort of Intel and the chip being inside, seldom seen, but still sort of the heart. So it's on one level, it's sort of the overarching theme of the whole story. And of course, also the actual laptop, the Toshiba laptop with the Intel chip in it, is sort of the device that enables us to integrate all the people, via their webcams into the story. So it's sort of the window where, because this guy Alex is always keeping a sort of a diary of who is each day. So it has, I think, I'm pretty happy about the way we integrated sort of the brand and the product. It feels like it doesn't get in the way of the experience. Actually, it's kind of a natural and sort of enabling component of the experience, I think.
Okay, Great, thank you. We've got time for one last question, if there is one. I don't see any hands, so I'm going to... Did you have another
No,
comment?
I just had a comment actually on what you were talking about now. I think one thing we learned that was kind of interesting is that when you're inviting people to really contribute and you know, that they invest time and effort into the stuff you're doing. I mean, it's also sort of a responsibility I think you have. Like, they have to be happy about where it ends up in the end, or like most of them have to be that, because it's social media and you're gonna hear it like if they're not happy. So it's sort of a little bit different. I think if you watch a crappy movie or a crappy show on TV, you won't really talk. I mean, maybe you have a snarky comment somewhere, but you know, you won't.
So you'll feel it when they throw the popcorn at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, it's the thing, you have to keep feeding the monkey. And we did this experiment. No, we were feeding it every day, but now we've had to stop while we go out and sort of deal with pre-production and raising the funds. And it was sort of like breaking up with our audience, where we had to explain, we'll still be around, we'll still send out information, but we're not hanging out every week. And it took them a little while to understand what that meant. Because, yeah, they had
It's not
invested.
you, it's me.
Well, no, it was them.
Okay, thank you so much to our panelists for being here, and thank you for the questions from the audience. I hope you will continue to enjoy the MIPCube program, going down to level 1 to see what's going on in the MIPCube Square. Thank you very much.